Now, it is a public holiday in the ACT today. Did you not notice that we were without public servants for a bit of day today because it's the start of Reconciliation Week, and today, Reconciliation Day, took place with all sorts of wonderful activities that I'm sure were entertaining to everyone who was involved there. But of course, the reason Reconciliation Day, which always is a public holiday but is particularly marked at the moment, is because, of course, the ACT was the only place that voted yes last year in the Prime Minister's $450 million referendum. The only place in the country that voted yes. Northern Territory, where the Indigenous population is quite significant? No. Where the paternalistic lefties are? Well, bang, of course, a big win. And there's lots of events that will take place in Canberra, not just today, but all week, about Reconciliation Week, and school kids will be seeing this, that and the other, and lots of speeches. But what about outside of Canberra? How are some people recognising Reconciliation Week? Well, of course, there's, again, events and speeches and all the rest of it. But what about what's happening in our schools? This dad took to TikTok to explain exactly what your kids and grandkids are being told to do behind closed doors by the same people who teach them 1 + 1 = 2.
My 7-year-old daughter came home today and she told me that her and her classmates had to participate in a group apology to the stolen generation.
Seriously? Now, as you know, I've got a 6-year-old and I've got a 9-year-old. I don't know what happens in their classes. You know, I've been in parks for the past couple of days, but I'll certainly be asking them about it tomorrow. I certainly like their teachers and I don't expect that nonsense happening at their school, which is a public school. But clearly, people are again trying to tell the story of Australia to the youngest people amongst us in a certain way that means it will be inevitable that it is Invasion Day, that there is no story whatsoever about every day after 1770, after 1788. Instead, these, of course, will become the future Greens voters and then the future Labor staffers and then eventually the people that will be around in Labor governments. But again, that dad continues.
Now, I have no problem with any of my children learning about it. That's completely fine. What I won't tolerate and what I won't accept is any of my children being forced to apologise for something that they had absolutely nothing to do with.
What is unreasonable? What is unreasonable about what he said? And it's exactly how I feel. Which is, no, all of us want our kids to learn the truth, the real truth, as uncomfortable as it all is, but also we want to make sure that we have a scenario that every kid, regardless of their background, regardless of whether they have links to 60,000 years or 60 days in the country, that they realise that together the history book is nothing but blank pages. It is to be written on together. There's not a margin drawn into every page 200 years into the future, with what, of course, took place more than 200 years ago. But I've got to say, I think this dad speaks on the behalf of all dads and granddads when they hear this stuff, which is okay. Look, I get it, I understand. Maybe not the way I was taught, maybe not the way my parents were taught, but I get it. My kids are going to learn slightly differently. But I agree when he says this.
Stop playing your woke games with our children. Our children are already being welcomed to the country that they're born in, and now they're being told that they're personally responsible for those horrific events.
Now, here's what I guarantee. I don't know anything else about that guy apart from that TikTok video. I don't know anything else that's on his feed and anything else, but I guarantee you there'll be the little lefty hit job that's going to come out and work out, oh, he said this thing 2 weeks ago and this thing 3. No, that point there is what I focus on, and that, I think, is what the majority of people watching this program would agree with. Now, the Prime Minister plays into this story because what was it that is one of his central promises and reasons for being? Well, you can check his own Twitter feed to find that. The same Twitter feed that, of course, told us they were going to do something about cost of living, but still, Australians deserve a government that leads and brings the country together, not one that divides us against each other. From the bloke who spent $450 million on a national conversation that, you betcha, divided people, where the people surrounding the Prime Minister called people dinosaurs, dickheads, racists, you get it, when it ended up being the majority of the population. Again, the Prime Minister very clear here. My priority is to bring Australians together. Take your pick. The division has never been worse, and of course, all on his watch.